For many people, the COVID-19 pandemic has passed and is not given much thought or news coverage. Yet there's a growing number of people who have reported symptoms that have never left them. Many of them have had these symptoms for years. The Office of National Statistics estimates that over 2 million Britons have long COVID. You may have it, or you may know someone who is struggling with it. My name is Paul, and I've been debilitated by long COVID since January 22. In this podcast, I'm going to share my journey and things I've experienced along the way. My aim is not to give medical advice. I'm certainly not qualified to do that. But I've been gaslit, ridiculed and dismissed for my symptoms, and I know it can be a very lonely place to be. It's an invisible illness, and I just want people to know that they're not alone. Well, hello and welcome to this latest episode of A Life with Long COVID. How are you? I hope this episode finds you well, wherever you are in this world of ours. It's seeming increasingly crazy at the moment, doesn't it? I want to talk to begin with about Long COVID Awareness Day, which was yesterday as I'm recording this. No, it wasn't. That's COVID brain. It was Saturday the 15th of March. It was quite a big thing on social media, I've noticed. Lots of people shared the fact that it was Long COVID Awareness Day. I sent out a post, which I hope you got, just kind of reflecting on the journey so far. And I thought I'd kind of go into a bit more detail here on the podcast. I mean, as far as long COVID awareness is concerned, I think we've probably gone backwards rather than forward the last couple of years. I don't know what you think, but certainly less and less people are talking about COVID at the moment. World politics and situations, in some cases rightly, have dominated the news. And all I'm getting at the moment is the odd news story about somebody who's got long COVID, as if they're kind of an anomaly and it's a strange situation. But the truth is, it's not an anomaly. It's actually more common, I think, than people realise. And the reason why is because I think even the people that we know about, and they're the people who, you know, are in various systems. So in the UK here, they had something called long COVID clinics for a while, but they seem to be being closed down now. There's people like myself and maybe you who have been identified or identify themselves as having long COVID. But there's this whole group of people who, after the pandemic, have never really felt right, and they're not kind of unwell enough to stop going to work or having to pare back on activities, but they've just not felt right. They've just felt a bit more tired than usual, or, you know, they've got one or two other symptoms that they're just struggling on with day to day and may not realise that they're suffering the after effects of COVID. And I say this because I've got some friends, one of whom I hope to talk to for this podcast very soon, who have had responses to COVID, and although they may not categorise themselves as having long COVID, they've definitely suffered. So there's this whole body of people. First of all, I think there's going to be millions of people around the world who are struggling with long COVID. And there's most certainly millions of people around the world who, to a lesser extent, struggled but are managing to carry on with things. It's a big thing, this long COVID business, you know, and I don't really know how else we can spread awareness other than through things like this podcast, maybe through my book, maybe through different things that I write, and joining together as sufferers just to make our voice heard. Because at the moment, no one's really listening. That's what it feels like. No one's actually taking this seriously. And until they do, we're going to continue to be a drain and a pressure on the health services in our respective countries. And here in the UK, the National Health Service is a marvellous institution, but they are struggling to keep up with demand for their services. They've been underfunded for many years, which is part of the reason. But the other reason is that since the pandemic, a lot more people are needing help and assistance. And we know where that's coming from, don't we? Even if nobody else kind of recognises it. And I suppose the last thing I want to say on Long COVID Awareness Day is that the medical profession needs to get it as well. Like, we're still encountering so many doctors, nurses, consultants, you name it, people who are specialists in their fields and refuse to recognise long COVID as a thing. I don't understand that at all. You know, there's the attitude of neurologists that I've spoke to, or GPs that I've spoken to, who seem to be unwilling to follow the kind of evidence in front of them and see that there is something going on. I mean, I get they might see one person perhaps who is suffering from symptoms, and they may think, well, maybe their symptoms are psychosomatic or something like that. But doctors must be faced now with quite a number of people all reporting the same symptoms since having a COVID infection. Why they refuse to accept it as a thing, I have absolutely no idea. But they do. They're out there, and it's pot luck as to whether you're going to get that kind of doctor, in which case you're not going to get any help at all, or you get a doctor who's sympathetic and is willing to help you try things in order to get better. And if we're going to have change, it needs to happen amongst the medical profession. It needs to happen there, as well as rolling it out, you know, to highlight what this illness does to the wider public. And I don't know. I think that's probably all I'm going to say on that. But you're with me, right? You probably experienced that same kind of reaction as well. And it frustrates me so much, because I reckon we'd be so much further forward in our research and knowledge about long COVID if only parts of the medical profession would take this seriously and actually look into it and do some research. So that's Long COVID Awareness Day. I think, you know, it was marked with appropriateness. It didn't eclipse anything else. But I've seen several people in the community, if you're one of them, well done, just stand up and say, no, this is me. I'm struggling, and I just want to let everybody know. I want to share with you a success over the weekend, and this is a new thing for me. So if you're already doing this, then fair play to you. But I'm always frustrated because I can't do the kinds of things that I couldn't do before. One of the things the person I used to be before was, if something was broken, I would try and fix it straight away. Like, I'd be in there, I'd be messing about trying to get stuff fixed, I'd be buying stuff in to repair it. That was the kind of person I was. 100% go-getting person. And just before the weekend, somebody sideswiped my car and they did some damage to the car, but also to the wing mirror. And it needed a new wing mirror. I am going somewhere with this, I promise. And I ordered said wing mirror off the internet. And this is the way my brain works. I forget sometimes that I'm not that person anymore. So when the wing mirror arrived, I thought, right, I'm going to put it on. So I rushed out and tried to install a new wing mirror on my car. And I got really upset by the whole thing because, like, I wasn't prepared. I never am prepared for that kind of thing. I don't look at instructions or watch anything like YouTube videos to try and get what to do. Historic me just goes in for it and hopes for the best, and that's what I did this time, and it was pretty awful. I mean, I didn't have the right tools, and I had to keep going to my toolbox to get the tools or into the garage to get tools. and I very, very, very quickly became exhausted. And it was so frustrating. I was so upset because it looked quite a simple job to do, but I ran out of energy very soon after starting, and I felt it's like that grief returns every time you try and do something you can't do. The kind of lament of realising once again you can't do something which you did before, and that actually you might never do it. So I was really upset that day, and resigned myself to not doing it, maybe to having to pay to get it done, because everything costs more money when you're disabled, right? Anyway, over the weekend I decided a different approach, and I'd noticed on my Visible app, I've talked about this before, the Visible energy kind of management app, that I spoke about this last week, that I don't just use what they call pace points when I'm doing physical activity. It's also when I'm stressed, when I'm doing something emotionally demanding or socially demanding, my heart rate increases, and that uses what they call pace points as well, and it has an effect on my body. And I was thinking over the weekend that there is the physical aspect of fitting this wing mirror, but I can manage the physical aspect. What I haven't been able to manage in the past is the stress factor, because I've never been prepared for anything, and I've thrown myself into things and just got stressed about it. So what I decided to do over the weekend was do something I don't normally do at all. I spent all day preparing to change the wing mirror. I got all the tools together. I watched countless YouTube videos. I planned this is even what I did, I planned how I could exert the least amount of energy possible to undo the screws which are at the bottom of the door, what position I would lay in, how I would reach round. Everything was planned. It was like in military precision. Okay, I did this, and once I'd prepared, spent that whole day preparing, the next day, then I tried to fit the wing mirror, and I did it, and I wasn't stressed, so I didn't run out of energy halfway through. I managed to pace myself. I did it slowly. I executed my plan in military-like precision, and with a little bit of help from Rachel, my wife, I fitted a new wing mirror to a car, and the sense of achievement was overwhelming. I was so happy that I did this. It felt like I'd kind of, won the lottery, or perhaps not that much, but I really felt like I was winning at life to be able to do something little like that actually COVID has prevented me from doing before. So I wanted to share that with you, but also as a kind of pointing out that actually, because I ironed out the stress of that situation, I removed one of the things that makes me tired, and then I could just manage the physical aspect of doing it. And with a bit of planning on this occasion for this task, I could manage to do it. And I'm so chuffed. So this is what I need to do. I need to be unlike the person I've been before. Again, I'm having to remake Paul into a different way. Stop Paul from impulsively gunning off and doing things, but Paul, the meticulous detail planner who considers everything before he takes on a project. That's going to take some time, I'll tell you that much, but I'm celebrating that small win over the weekend. We also had a couple of less good things happen over the weekend, really around the wheelchair. I've got a new wheelchair, and I've got a bit gung-ho with it, basically. It's a fantastic wheelchair. It goes up and down curbs. It just does everything I need it to do. It goes almost sideways, because it's got some what they call Omni wheels, which go sideways as well as forward. And it's kind of quite a nice gadget. So I've got this wheelchair. It's a great expense. Couldn't really afford it, but it's really given me a bit of freedom. But as I say, I got a bit gung-ho at the weekend. Managed to drive into a couple of people. Lost a drink because somebody walked into me. I careered into a wheelchair space, took out the kind of side covering on it, and it kind of brought me back down to earth a bit. I was, before I used it that day at the weekend, I was thinking, I'm so winning at life. I fitted my wing mirror, everything's going awesome. I don't mind being stuck in this wheelchair because it's great. And then I got a little bit gung-ho, and I've been reminded, really humbled if you like, that it doesn't do absolutely everything, is not invincible, and I just need to take things a little bit more carefully in the wheelchair, which is exactly what I will do in future. So there you go, there's a win and a bit of a downer in what we call this topsy-turvy roller coaster of life that is long COVID. Every day is different, and you never quite know what's going to come along, do you really? Who knows what this week will bring coming up? All I do know is that I'm really enjoying these episodes. I'm enjoying writing and mailing out posts. And if you would like to receive all of my articles that I write, all the little snippets that I write, and we've received a notification directly into your email inbox every time I release an episode, then please do click on the link in these show notes, or I'll put a link on the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, whatever you call it, page. You can subscribe to Life with Long COVID, and if you would like to, you can also pledge a few pounds, a few dollars a month in order to help with the costs it takes to run it. But if you can't do that, I understand. Click the free option and you'll still get the same amount of content. But what you do get as a premium subscriber, so to speak, is a few extra posts, but also a signed copy of my book, Life with Long COVID, which I will send out to you once you subscribe. And the book, Life with Long COVID, is out on Amazon. Again, the link for that is also in the show notes. That's enough advertising for me for one episode, don't you think? But I do appreciate all your support, all your messages, all your emails. I really do feel like more than ever that we are part of this big community. And even if some people don't recognise or believe in long COVID, who cares? We've got each other, and together we'll get through this, and we'll make our life a little bit more bearable, knowing that we're not alone. So, until next week, look out for some more articles and messages. I'll be doing some of the updates throughout the week. But until then, until we see each other again, take care. I constantly pray for the whole community, and I hope this week you will have as many highs as you have. I can't speak today. I hope that you have as many highs as you have lows, and cherish those moments when you get those small things and you think, for once, I've actually won at life.